Okay, so I suspect it's going to take a little while for people to arrive, considering I haven't announced that this stream was going to start. So we'll give people a bit of time to arrive before we go into anything interesting. I'm just going to start by opening up Tug of War, and we're gonna look into doing a bit of decoration on this level, including trying out the Matt's new lip system. I might need to look up how to do that actually. I had a conversation with it a while ago about it. Aha, here we are. Okay, so it looks like I'm looking for the word skirt. Fun. Right, Plasma Gamer 2. Yes, you are the first, I believe. You are currently my only viewer. So this is a stream for one person, clearly. Okay, so I'll run over what the plan is today. And I've got some catching up to do with you guys on what's going on in the game, my life, the universe, and everything. You started streaming since my last stream. Oh, very good. How's it going? You probably have more viewers than me. Well, all my viewers have gone because of my me disappearing to be a father for a bit. 11 followers, nice. Very nice. Oh, I've got 632 followers. However, they don't show up. They don't all show up when I start streaming. At most, I get 10, I think. But I'm a historic followers who aren't interested anymore. All right, very good. Every now and again, I do have a look at who's streaming Empires. Aha! Number 2. Welcome, Raptor. Yeah, thank you very much. I'm indeed back. Okay, I'm looking for a word called lip in this. So, I think it's lip. Lip. It's not lip. One sec, let me get back to my conversation. Skirt, sorry. Oh, these are very suggestive words. Lip and skirt. Skirt. Generates skirt mesh. Should we generate a skirt mesh? See what happens. Hey, there's a skirt. Right, the idea in the skirt is that I believe it's an area of non-play space. I don't know whether so we don't need to build the weird I can't put a marker down there. I can't put a marker down anywhere. It's the map. I disable markers in this map. Alright, pick of death. Anyone else think the mic is breaking? What are you hearing? Hello. Is the mic not sounding correct? Let me listen. Sounds okay to me. What's the matter with the mic? Oh yeah, it's like glitching out, isn't it? Right, let me check the cable's correct. Weird. Okay. Any better? Nope. Right.
Hello? Hello, hello? Right. Let's see if that's better. Well, it's somewhat better. It's probably worse quality, but at least it's not glitching. I mean, potentially. But I think the fact that this mic's not glitching suggests that that isn't the case. Okie doke. Right, good to have you with us, Huff, anyway. And, Monstrum Robert. Hello, Huff. You hello worlding the chat. Okay. Right, I'm going to turn my voice off now because I don't like hearing my own voice. That's just a bit weird. Okay, so I'm going to need to... Yeah, I'll deal with all that in time. Okay, so today I'm going to be working on Tug of War a bit. I'm going to be just decorating the map. I want to see how this lip thing works, because Matt has essentially added something into the game which adds a lip to the edge of them. He's called it a skirt. I keep calling it a lip, but it's a skirt apparently. So basically basically we don't need to do terrain anymore at the edge of the map. It's just done by tiles that are inaccessible. But I actually don't know if you can raise the height of them and that sort of thing. Maybe they're already at height too. Oh, okay. Well, they're definitely not. I think they're probably height 0 actually. Okay, something... Okay, so you can see where the skirt is there. And there. Right, this is all very experimental because this hasn't actually been used before. Right, so there's the skirt off. What happens if I turn it on here? Ooh. That's interesting, isn't it? So it kind of like generates terrain. Off the edge of the map. That's quite novel. I mean, I'm pretty sure Matt's got a system in place which works, which will work for what he wants to do. I don't think it's you meant to meant to have the edge of the map a bit like that. I mean, this is just random drawing anyway. Right, let's turn the skirt off for now, and I will generate some edge of map stuff. We'll raise the edge of the map to height 1. So yeah, I'm going to talk about what's been going on with the team over the past few weeks. Obviously, I haven't streamed for a while longer, and I have been back at work for a while now, but I haven't streamed, mostly because I couldn't face it. It was the first few weeks with a newborn is quite challenging, and things have started to settle down a bit now. He's sleeping still quite erratic, but I've kind of got my methods in place to get him to sleep. Although they don't always work. It's a bit tricky with a newborn. But I've had a tired few weeks. He's nearly a month old now. Oh, thanks very much. Oh, thanks very much, Plasma Gamer, for subscribing. Appreciate it. Now, I need to create some I need to create some subscriber stuff, some antemotes. He's like my dog has fighting a duck. All right. That must be an exciting household there. Dogs fighting ducks. Let's watch the dog doesn't accidentally snap and kill the duck. Right, okay, so I've created a lip around the edge of the map. I think I can build in a little bit more because the way this the way this map works is that it's pretty much just a route down the center. So it doesn't need a huge amount of space, although it does need a little bit of space so they can spread out. I might see what happens if I add some more raised areas, just out of interest. Right, if I go with a height 2 area here. Maybe here as well. Don't forget as well now we don't need to make it match exactly. But I don't want to make it too high here because I don't want to affect the player's visuals. But we'll see what we can do with the lip. I don't really know what to expect with it yet, so Okay, let's save that before we do anything else. A newborn while the pandemic is happening, most stressful, but congrats. Yeah. I mean, it didn't actually affect the birth, thankfully. Um, I mean, it affects when you can go in. Like in my local doctors, it's only in active labour that the partner can go in now. So I had to wait outside in the car, but thankfully by the time we arrived, they had a quick look at my wife and decided that she was in active labour. So I pretty much went straight in. And then we were in there for about 3 hours before my second child was born. So actually, it really was not that bad. And because they're actually fairly quiet there on the day that my child was born, I was allowed to stay because we were in a separate room, and my wife didn't need to be put on a ward. So it was actually as good as can be. It really wasn't a bad birth. And then since we've been home, when you've got a newborn, you don't really want to be going out much anyway. So it's actually been all right. It sounds bad when you say having a child in a pandemic, but thankfully it wasn't in the height of the pandemic in the UK. We're very much. I mean, we sort of leveled off at a low level now, but thankfully it was nowhere near the height of the pandemic, so it really wasn't too bad. Right, let's generate that skirt. See what it looks like. Okay, that works quite well actually. It levels off the areas. I mean, obviously I still need to decorate it a bit more. Well, a lot more. And that looks a bit daft. I don't like there being one there, so I'll probably raise a few areas over here. But yeah, that actually works quite well. I think the reason Matt's done this. He's built this system is because it was challenging using the to try and get the landscape system looking right. And I think basically he didn't feel like it was working out for him, so he wanted to automate it, because it was one of the things that was taking a lot of time, was playing with landscapes to get them to look right. But this is actually a step towards, dare I say it, a level editor, because the outside skirt system is now can now be controlled through our tools. I mean, it's not yet, but it will be able to be controlled through our tools. So let's see what that looks like. Right, that looks alright to me. Right, well, Copter. Yes, I'm doing fine today. I'm actually pretty alert today, which is good. Last night was not a bad night. So we're all bing and wide awake. I'm working on these extra levels today, so I can do stuff on stream. But I am going to chat about what. So let's start a. Let's start talking about some of the stuff that's been going on. Whilst I've not been streaming. Right, that looks fine to me. So the others, if you've been following Screenshot Saturday, the recent one. I used to do map design in a game called. It's quite hard. You can't get the boats to work. To be fair, a lot of stuff like that is just knowing. Like you probably need to read. If they've got a manual, you probably need to read the manual more. There's probably something you need to do to get the boats to work. Like setting up a level in here, there's a lot of stuff that isn't intuitive at all. Just because the way we've built the game, we kind of built layer upon layer upon layer of systems. Really, if we were to make a level editor, what we need to do is put all those systems in a central control panel, so the player, so it became obvious to the player how to do things. Like for example, right now I need to, because Liam's made massive changes to the way movement works, I need to run a routine which redoes all the pathing on the tiles. If I can find it, tile generation, there it is, I think. Yeah. Yeah. So I tick that, and it runs its stuff, and whatnot. Okay, so save. So yeah, it's all about knowing how the systems work and what you need to do. Like if I hadn't clicked that, then movement on the surface wouldn't be working at all. Question for those who have played the other foot level: was the Army Ant Major? What was the Army Ant Major respawn cost again? Can't remember. I think the respawn cost might be lower than the cost though. Army Ant Major respawn. Yeah, it might have been 15. I think their actual cost in the level's 160. I don't know though. It's definitely. I still think there's balance changes that need to happen to that level. Unfortunately, I couldn't make any changes in the run up to it releasing because Liam made movement changes, and at the time the movement was broken, so I couldn't make changes and then upload them because the movement wouldn't have been working. I've got to keep an eye out for movement bugs happening whilst I'm working on the game. So we'll keep an eye out for stuff. Liam's now changed it so you can have different zones. So like this area is now pathable, but it's classed as a different zone to like this area. And that opens up possibilities of us moving creatures between zones. Maybe creatures can jump from one zone to another, or in the case of the fire ant level, water actually affects where you the zones that you can reach. Let's see if the surface movement's working. Yeah, it's working fine. Okay, we can probably get on with decorating this level then. It'd be good if I could put out a build over the next couple of weeks that has this level in it, so people can test it and tell me it's working. The game audio is quite loud for me at the minute, but I don't think you guys can hear it. I think my desktop audio is turned off. The spider can climb up and down. Yeah, well, I'll probably put out either a beta build or just a build with the level set to come out in the future. But it'd be good to get some testing on this level. Anyway, let's paint, shall we? Right, I haven't used these tools in ages. Should we start with painting noise? Ugh. What's going on there? That's not working, is it? Might be that something's changed. Let's just try normal painting. Normal painting works. Oh, does it though if I change the text, the weight of some of the textures? Okay, so noise painting's not working at the minute, is what I'm getting from that. I'm just gonna let Matt know. Just gonna send him a screenshot. Give me a second. Either way, we don't really need to paint noise to decorate the level. I'm not really sure what I want it to look like yet. We'll see. Huh. Might raise that. I think having one down looks a bit weird. So I'll raise that one tile. We'll sort that out. So height 1. But if I ever change the skirt, oh no, it. That's funny. Oh, I see what it's done. It's tried to copy the paint job from the end and just expanded it over it. I'm assuming basically you need to get the skirt correct before painting. So let's make sure there's nowhere else on the skirt that looks a bit funky. Okay, that all looks fine to me. Let's save that map. Alright, coming back to chat for a second. Fire ants will be stronger than army ants? Question mark. They'll be different. Stronger is a strong statement. They're quite different to the army ants. The fire ants, the part of their design is that they're cheap to replace, and you want to replace them. So the two different types you've got. Okay. was I saying? Sorry. So there may be a case where a trap spider home may be a tower covering cobwebs, and the only way to kill it is to bait it out. Trapdoor spiders. The resistance value on the stat sheet. What portion of the damage resisted from each attack? Finally got in the reviews with 1,311 hours. Record. Yeah, I've seen that review. I think that might be the highest amount. He's got way more time than any of the developers. It's mad. Well, I'm glad someone loves the game that much. I need to paint this as well. Anyway, so yeah, the fire ants are designed. The design philosophy is kind of you swarm the enemy with lots, but they're fairly weak in general. And to kind of account for their weakness, which would be AoE, they also have AoE resistance, so they don't die too quickly to AoE. But they also their attack rotation has a venom attack in it, and most of their damage comes from their venom attack, which is a sting, which you'll have seen in the videos. But the two different types, one of them becomes free to hatch if the egg's been on the tile for a minute, I believe, but the values are open to change. And the other one, after they do hatch, they get a buff for 5 minutes. So both of them kind of promote your units dying and respawning. Put new ants in soon. Yeah, we're working on putting new ants in. Okay, so that's actually one of the things I wanted to talk about was what I've been doing over the past week. So I've been, or some of the last week, I've been adding the new ants to the game. As in, they're not modelled yet. I've been putting placeholder stuff in, but including stats and things. Like I now have stats in the game for every creature we're planning to introduce to the end of the game, and I went through and gave them all abilities as well, but not. I haven't done all the abilities yet. I don't even think I've done all the stats actually. No, I've done all the stats for the Fire Ant update. That's right. I haven't done the stats for the final update yet. The sting's not a poison effect, but it's venom damage. So there's two types of damage in the game: physical and venom. And certain creatures have resistance to one or the other. In fact, quite a lot of creatures in the game have resistance to one or the other. So it's different. In order to see that, though, you really need to look at the stat sheets, and they're just available on somewhere hidden on the website. You have to kind of be sent a link. We do intend on having an in-game Antpedia, or whatever you want to call it, which is going to give all the stats and that in the game, but it's one of those tasks that it kind of gets pushed back. We'll get around to it at some point, but it's like juggling new content and improving features is always a tricky one. But yeah, venom attack is slightly different. If it's a different resistance value. Okay, so yeah, I was adding the new ants to the game, and I've added placeholders for all the ants coming into the game. Now, not counting workers, there's 9 that I've had 9 different ants that I've added as placeholders that are possible to build is colony creatures. They're not going to be colony creatures in most of the game. Not all of them are going to be colony creatures in most of the game. However, I added them to be able to be built as colony creatures for extra levels and stuff. So yeah, in the campaign, you will play as there's 3 more ants. No, 2 more ants to come. Ant species to come that you'll play as directly. Then there's the bonus ant at the end of the game. So they're what's left to be added to your Formicarium colony. So the 2 species both have a worker. Fire ants have a soldier, and the other species has 2 different units. So that's 3 of the 9. Then there's the final ant in the game, which is the extra ant at the end of the campaign, which is the bullet ant, which is that counts for 4 of the 9. Then other than that, there's 2 more species you encounter during the fire ant update. One of them just has 1 soldier type, the other one has 2. Both of those have queens. So that's for 5, 6, 7 of the 9. That was 10, sorry. That was a 10. There is a 10th one. Then in the final update, there's 2 more species. One's the termite. The other, which was part of the Kickstarter goals as well, and the other one, and then there's another one, and the other one has 3 different types. So that counts for the final 4. So yeah, there's 10. So there's 10 that are being added to the pool of being able to be played by the player. Some of them are full colonies. Others are just soldiers, depending on what they're needed for in the campaign. So that's what I've been doing. I've been adding placeholders in for those. I've kind of stopped at I'm not sure which. Let's have a paint and see what these brushes are. That one just seems to be sandy. It's 1 type of sand. That's the original texture. That looks like another type of that's got a straw almost. Yeah, that's like straw. And that's the kind of greenery. Okay. I'm not a level designer, or I'm not an artist, should we say. I can't say I'm not a level designer. I am a level designer. I design a lot of levels in the game. I'm definitely a level designer, but I'm not an artist. I'll give this a go. I'll give this map a go, but I'm gonna get Matt to look at it afterwards. Like I say, I am not an artiste. There's probably some rules about painting these. Oh god, gosh, what happened there? I don't know what that was. Oh, I moved it. Oh, what's? Oh, I'm moving the whole thing. Oh, I've just crashed it. Yeah. Oh. Never undo. You look at my face for a minute whilst I. Oh, 2,815. Well done. Okay, so that's what I've been doing very recently. So talking about the others, okay, so those who've been following the Screenshot Saturday will know what Matt's been working on. As in this Screenshot Saturday, he showed the first shots of the bridge building, which was another Kickstarter goal actually. Now the bridge building has turned out to be quite a tough thing to implement, and it's been expanded from what was originally planned. So originally the plan was to have ants kind of walk onto the bridge and sort of go into it, and the bridge to kind of expand, so it kind of look a bit more gameplay like. So kind of like they kind of do like a bridge joining action. They disappear and the bridge expands. Now I'm not sure whose fault it is, but basically what he's ended up doing is he's ended up doing it so the ants walk to the bridge and actually cling on to each other physically, so they actually do connect. So it's no longer just a visual thing. The actual ants are connecting. I think this is going to cause the bridges to be a bit thinner in unit count, as in nature you have loads of ants in an area forming the bridge. I think there's probably just going to be one layer thin of fire ants to form the bridge. However, it will look real. I believe they will join it. I haven't seen the animation myself yet. I've only seen the only thing I've seen is the screenshot that you guys have seen. But basically, Matt's been working on the fire ant bridges. We shared the individual images of the fire ants. He did all those really quickly. It didn't take him long to put the creature models together for the fire ants. Then he started working on fire ant bridges, and it's now been a month, I think. It's maybe slightly over a month, and he still hasn't finished it. And it's because of the level of complexity he's gone with it, that's gone into it. And it's definitely stems from a meeting we had. I remember we had a meeting where we discussed what we wanted the bridges to do. I think basically we decided we wanted them to be too good. I'm trying to convince him to scale back a bit now on the because he's trying to make at the minute he's trying to make them bob and sway. So bob up and down in the water, which he says is fine. It's swaying left and right that's tricky. So if water's flowing, he wants it, and we did agree in this meeting that it would kind of turn into the direction that water's flowing. However, I don't think that's needed at all. I think we can get away without doing that. And I think so, yeah. Bridges. Right, health. We did discuss this, and I'm not sure if we actually finally came up with an answer. Because of the water walking that's being introduced in the game, there are creatures that can walk on water. However, I don't think they'll be attacking creatures whilst they're in the water. I think they'll just use water as a method of transport, and it certainly wouldn't be fair if they attacked your creatures whilst they're in the water, because you couldn't reach them. So the creatures won't be attacking from the water, but they count certain creatures in the game, a small handful of them, will be able to walk on or in the water. So some of them will swim, some of them will walk across the surface. Oh, the engine's back up, by the way. I just kept talking. You've just seen too much of my face. So the I don't think we're going to have health on bridges. I don't think creatures will be able to attack them, because really then the ants should be able to attack back. However, I'm not sure what we said about creatures crossing a fire ant bridge. I don't think other creatures should be able to cross the fire ant bridge other than the fire ants, because in nature you would not walk across that. If you're a fire ant, you would not walk across that at all. The way the fire ant bridges are going to work is, yeah, they will be part of the tile grid, I believe. I'm not sure though. I think they'll be I'll have to speak to Matt to find out. I can't remember whether we either decided that they would be predetermined on the tile grid, or whether they would act like climbing a titan. So like you climb onto the bridge, you travel across it, and then you climb off the bridge. I can't quite remember what we said. If I had to guess, I would say it was probably planning on pre-breaking it into the tile grid. So there's going to be points that will have obvious visual representation of where a bridge can be built. In order to build a bridge, you just had to put a marker down on an inaccessible area, and if there's water that can be built across, the ants will automatically join those 2 points together. So there'll be visual cues of where bridges can be built. You can't just build them anywhere, but the level should be designed in a way that if you put a marker down, and if you put a marker down, the bridge will start to automatically form without ants in that group. I mean, initially the bridges are going to be just kind of part of the campaign level, but I do want to build some maps in free play which allow you to make use of them, or maybe also build in build it into the old maps in free play as well. We'll have to see. I might not bother with it in the old maps, because in the old maps you can get everywhere anyway. But maybe I'll do some new maps that allow you to make use of bridges. From the screenshot, it looked like they acted like tiles. Yeah, I think they are aligned to tiles. I think that's how they work. What will happen to all the ants when the water rises and they can't hold onto the land? Right, so water rising and falling was a big part of the discussion. So water falling, I believe the bridge points are going to be designed so if there is land below, there's a possibility that the ants will just connect to the land below, and the ones that land on the tiles below will just become normal ants and move around. Water raising, yeah, I believe if you've got a bridge set up when water raises, they will wash away. So yeah, your water raises, the bridge is disconnected, there's just a bunch of ants in the water. If it's rising and falling, the water's likely to be flowing, so the ants the ants flow off the edge of the map. So you lose a load of ants, essentially. So yeah, like I say, there's a reason why the ant bridges are taking a long time. And it's because of these scenarios. Like you've just come up with several of the scenarios we had to address in that meeting and make decisions on. I'm just going to ask Matt how I paint a tunnel exit. Okay, Matt. How do I paint tunnel exits? Question mark. The water glass, is that one of those IKEA glasses? What water glass? What's a water glass? So, to withdraw the fire ant bridges, do you just move the pheromone marker elsewhere? Yes. So if you remove the marker or move it somewhere else, the ants from the end of the bridge will free themselves and walk back across the bridge, and so the whole bridge should cascade back. I mean, when it's functional, it should look quite cool, because it should kind of look they should walk in and kind of connect over each other, and then when you remove the marker, it should kind of roll back on itself. And you need enough ants in the group to complete the bridge. You'll get a feel for how many ants you need to complete a bridge. Or maybe we'll give a visual clue to you. The glass that was visible on the camera. There was a glass visible on the camera? There's a camera here. Don't know what that is. What are you? You are New Victory Cine Camera 2. It's viewing this amazing view. Okay, so with this new lip system in mind, I should be able to just delete this landscape. Don't need the landscape anymore. Yeah. because we have the newfangled lip system. There, skirt. Damn it! I keep calling it a lip. Okay, yeah. So I'm just gonna paint and enjoy myself. So that's what Matt's been doing. He's let's add some weights to some of these. Yes, brush size, some fall off. Let's increase. That's not fall off. The brush flow. I have no idea what brush flow is. Controls the brush flow. Brush flow. Great, thanks. Really useful piece of information there. I love controlling my brush flow. Controlled flows are the best flows. That's what I always say. Ooh, that creates an interesting effect. Let's have some more fall off, shall we? I think even more fall off. I love me some fall. Oh look, they're leaves, like sandy leaves. I reckon I've got some sort of weird hybrid between the beach level and the going on here. I want more fall off. I probably don't want as many leaves anymore. What's this? I have some of this here. That's good, yeah. That's good. You can see I'm a wonderful artiste. My artistic vision here of having kind of the ghost of leaves all over this map. It's really coming to fruition. Let's blend that in there. Yeah, love me some blending. I'll call this map the Ghost of Leaves. The Ghost of Leaves Past. Let's get that good blending there. We're going to blend that in. Yeah. The problem is I get a brush and then I want to paint the whole map with that brush. And then the map doesn't look interesting anymore. You ever have that problem? How many ounces per tile? I don't know. Matt's still working on the system, so we'll find out. The glass on the desk. The one you took a sip of. Oh! This glass. Ah. It's one of those IKEA glasses. I actually think it was a Tesco glass, you know. It wouldn't surprise me if they sell it in IKEA as well. Glasses, both functional and both attractive and functional. Buy one now from any shop. Sponsored by shops everywhere. Oh, oh! That blended in. It's broken. Do you reckon it's something to do with the fall off, maybe? Do I turn the fall? No. The flow? No. Turn off all the texture weights? Nope. Well, never mind. Nope. Oh, I know what this is. Haha. I know what this is. I know what the problem is. I think I have the rainforest text, like floor texture, but the beach tile texture, so it's probably trying to Yeah, I can see what it's doing. 1 second later. RIP. Yeah, dead. I think I see what I've done. I think basically I need to change these to the beach ones. I think to do that, I just need to have a look at these textures here. Beach tunnel. Rainforest. Oh. Tunnel. It might actually be Ecuador tunnel. Yeah, Ecuador tunnel. Yeah, there we go. Right, I'll be back in a second. Still liquid in there. More liquid. Here my children downstairs. I feel really sorry for my wife at the minute. Yeah. He's gone. Let's hijack the stream. No, leave my stream alone. Could be interesting to combine the effect of water with fabric effect. I think. Oh. I think there will be bobbing up and down in the water, but I'm not sure what. Not sure how Matt's planning on doing it. Okay. So that tunnel exit looks ridiculous. The map looks ridiculous. Let's face it, I'm not very good at this. Oh, we're getting very leafy here. Oh yes, yeah, that's strong leaves. Strong leaves. We love some strong leaves every now and again, don't we? All of us love some strong leaves. Right. Before I get over the top with that, let's turn all this off. Introduce some. Oh, okay. Now we're on slime. Let's paint some slime. I need to drop the flow down. Oops. Myself a bit more space to work. Now this is better. Right, so with the flow reduced a lot, I can be a bit more brash with my painting. If anyone hasn't figured out, I haven't got a plan here. There's no plan going on here. Basically, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go, Matt, I've messed up a level. Can you make it pretty for me? That needs sorting. I love how that just suddenly disappears there. Really, let's blend it in. Blend it in. Blend it in. Come on. We got this. It would be great is if you had a little picture of what the textures were. I think that's probably important for further down the line. I mean, when we give people access to level building tools. I should say if, because that was never promised. I'd love to give people access to level building tools. I think that's a bit better. I think I want to keep the central area fairly sandy so you can see. The sandy texture is definitely the easiest one to see. Okay. Right, let's save that. Save my progress. Is multiplayer on the plan yet? As we always say with this, we as much as we would love to do it, we can't promise it. It's the game hasn't been built from the start with multiplayer in mind, which makes things a bit tricky. Some aspects of the game have been kind of overcome with free play, as you can play as different colonies in free play, and enemy colonies are coming to free play, so that's kind of defeating some of the barriers. But the main issue in multiplayer is something called replication, and I'll go into a little technical detail on multiplayer and the kind of concept behind it all. Okay, so Steam offers systems which allow you to connect to other Steam accounts. So you connect your computer to other Steam accounts through their online subsystem, which we've got in our game already, because you use it for the achievements and whatnot. But yeah, Steam has systems in place to allow matchmaking and connections between computers. So doing multiplayer in sort of a peer-to-peer fashion like that, it's not too bad to get the computers connecting and talking to each other. So that side of it, I wouldn't be too concerned about. I think in an afternoon you can run through an Unreal Engine tutorial on how to connect to another machine via multiplayer. Obviously, it take a lot longer to. It would take a lot longer to to refine everything and get matchmaking working, like if you wanted a proper matchmaking system, or whether you just wanted to connect to friends, getting all those details refined, that would take a lot longer, but to get the basics in place wouldn't take that long. So in order for multiplayer to work efficiently, particularly if you're using a peer-to-peer multiplayer system, this is quite important. Well, it's very important. The game needs to decide what variables, objects, everything needs to be replicated across. So the way it works is you've got a central computer acting as the server. Even in peer-to-peer, there's usually a central computer acting as the server, which has a version of the game running on it for everyone. So the version of the game's running, and all the creatures are moving about as normal on there. And as you play in single player, that's what you're seeing. You're seeing the server, the kind of the server view of the game. Now, in order for multiplayer to work efficiently, which is vitally important on something like a war strategy, you need to decide exactly what the server needs to send to the clients, and you've got to be quite specific about it. So, for example, an actor's location. So, an ant's location is an obvious thing you'd need to send to the client. So on the creature, the actors have a location. This is selected. This is replicated by default, by the way. So actor's location is automatically replicated. You can probably turn that off, but I think by default that's replicated. So the server has an actor's location, and it sends it, and it tells the clients where the actor is now. Now, in our game, there's loads of different variables. So there's obviously location, rotation, orientation, I suppose you call it. So the pitch, yaw, and roll. So that's just a location thing. Then there's things like timers, interest on objects, and that sort of thing. So you want to decide what the client can control, and what the server can control. You've got to decide every variable in the game. So for every variable in the game, you've got to decide whether it needs to be replicated or not. So I'll show you an example. Just thinking of something. Oh, why not this? Okay, so here's a tunnel exit. Okay, so this is the tunnel exit in the game. On this tunnel exit, now there's a lot more variables than this, because there's a load of stuff in C++ as well. But here, there's a variable here called player can enter and has been opened. So player can enter looks like it's used when you place a marker on the tunnel exit. So you place a marker on the tunnel exit, and it's part of the decision whether a player can enter. It also looks like it's set. Variables public missing tooltip. It looks like it's set in the level itself. So player can enter. That's set to tick there. So player is allowed to enter the tunnel exit. Now, this variable this is stuff that comes in Unreal Engine, and down here, so all sorts of stuff going on, but down here we've got replication. So should the variable be replicated over a network? And so you've got replicated and rep notify. I think rep notify sends a notification to the clients when the variable changes. I think that's what that means. But it was ages ago that I did the tutorials on this. So you can set that to replicated there, and what would happen is if that variable changes on the server, it would send it down to the clients. Now, there's more to consider than just going through every variable in the game and turning on replicated, because I like Pactane. How you doing? If you turned every variable in the game to replicated, like went through every variable in this in C++ and turned it to replicated, it would be sending way too much information over the network. Particularly, I mean, if you think about a location, if a replicated location needs to update so frequently in order to match the server. In reality, I think what happens with location is I believe the movement commands come from the server, and the creatures themselves will move themselves, and then the replicated variable, I think, replicates every now and then. So basically the client predicts where the creature should be, and the server will send it an update like saying, well, the creature's actually here, and the client will correct itself. I think that's what happens with location, and that's why you get things like rubber banding in games. So if you've got if you've got a poor connection, you might see someone run past and then jump back, and run again and jump back. And it's because the server is correcting what the client thinks is happening. So if someone was running, the connection went bad, the client predicted where that person would be in the future time. The server gets a reconnection, replicates the location variable, and the client goes, oh no, that person's not there, and rubber bands them back. I believe that's how rubber banding works. So you've got that to consider on all the variables in the game, and there's a lot of them at this point. So I think basically in order to do multiplayer, what you'd do is you'd start and you decide what the most important things to replicate are. Speed hack detected. You decide what the most important things to replicate are. You run the game. You'd notice what was wrong pretty quickly. Maybe a creature's abilities aren't triggering correct, or something like that. And then you'd have to make changes. Now, so I mentioned creatures' abilities there, and this is where you get the layer of complexity gets more. So you can't just replicate everything. There are things you can do to make things a lot more efficient. So, for example, a tunnel exit underground. A tunnel exit underground. Okay, so we've got all these rocks in here. When the tunnel exit's closed, the player clicks on it. The ants dig at it for a while. There's an explosion, and the players are allowed, and the creatures are allowed to access the surface. So you could replicate everything. So replicate the location of the rocks, the explosion, the value of the ants digging it, all that stuff. You could replicate all that, and then you've sent tons of data down the stream. Or what you could do is replicate one value. You could replicate how dug out the tunnel is. So the ant walks over and starts digging. Rather than replicate the quantity the ant's digging or anything like that, you can ignore all that and just replicate the value that the tunnel's been dug out. So the server knows how much the tunnel's been dug out and he's just passing that down. When that hits 0, you want to replicate a variable that says the tunnel is now open. However, the explosion, the location of the rocks, all of that doesn't need to be replicated. You just tell the client you need to explode now. Then the client has their own explosion. Everyone sees rocks fly off in different directions because who cares where the rocks goes? They're not collidable anyway. The important stuff is that the tunnel is now open, so that data is replicated. So players can pass through, and players' clients can say, right, I can now place markers on the surface, that sort of thing. Only replicate next entrance excavation process when changed. So yeah, I mean, variables won't replicate when they're not changed. So if you have a bool set to replicate, the server won't pass that information down until the bool changes. There's no reason for it to. But like I said, there you could replicate the location of all these individual rocks that fly off, or you could just replicate a trigger. So you have the event be replicated, but not the result of the event. So that's where the finesse, if you want, will come into putting multiplayer together. And it's a big game at this point. So, I mean, what is probably more likely is that rather than introducing multiplayer all over the game, you could introduce it into a small setup. So maybe a skirmish or something like that, where you've got a very controlled set of variables that need to be replicated, and doesn't have a lot of the fancy stuff that happens in the game. And then you could slowly bring stuff into it. So you create a multiplayer mode separately, which has a real focus on what needs to be replicated. So it's possible. It's just because the game is so big at this point, it's a lot of work. Right, see you later, Plasma Gamer. Thanks for joining. Sorry, I've gone on for a long time about the basically that was basically a multiplayer theory there. Although with one example being the tunnel entrances. I think it's a good example as well because it's got visual elements that aren't gameplay based, and it's got gameplay elements. So you need to specifically decide what needs replicating in this case. So I think tunnel exits are a decent example of the importance of replication. So it's not just variables that you can decide to be replicated, it's events as well. So whether an event should just trigger on the client, whether it should trigger on the server, just trigger on the server and replicate down to the client. Whether certain things only need to trigger on a client, and don't need to happen on the server. Like UI based things. The server does not care what the player's doing with their UI. All they care about is where they've placed a marker. So the event of placing the marker needs to be replicated. Then the marker itself probably needs to be controlled by the server, not the client. So placement of the marker controlled by the client. Server doesn't care, apart from it gets told that a marker needs to go here. Then at that point, the server takes control of the marker, and the server then replicates information about the marker down. Whew. Someone told his chat one feature that he's talking about today. At the moment, I'm explaining multiplayer. I'm giving a very basic explanation of what needs to be considered when you're making multiplayer in a game, and why it's difficult for us to implement it. Why it would be difficult for us to implement it. Will there be a visual in the future for overground nest entrances whose underground has not been excavated yet? There already is, to some extent. I mean, each overground has the closed mesh on it as well. So it's got a closed mesh and an open mesh. I think the closed mesh is just set to be invisible. Ugh. So yeah, it does actually have the visual there, although we don't have an effect at the minute, because at the minute you can never see an opponent dig out their nest, so we don't have like a collapse in effect, which I think we would need to do. Maybe just a smoke effect if we had multiplayer. I mean, the issue then is you probably want to be able to tunnel into someone's nest if they haven't tunneled it, so it's something to consider in the future, really, if we go down that road. I say I'm never promising multiplayer, but I hope that gives you some idea of some of the challenges that trying to implement multiplayer would cause. Right. Okay, so I'm gonna have a look at foliage now. Now the foliage system's a funny one, really. This is all the foliage in the game. That's useless. The question is, where are these? Where are they stored? Assets, 3D models, scenery, beach scenery. It's log scenery. Oh, the rotten log. Yeah, that's stuff that was never finished. Ecuador scenery. Right, so these are static meshes. What's this? Big tree corner left. It's going to be big, isn't it? Well, it is called Big Tree Corner Left. I'd be surprised if it wasn't big. Yeah, it's big. Ooh, look. What a weird texture. Oh, hang on. I think it's because it's... I have no idea what's going on here. Scale this down a bit. Okay, so the... But I think it still needs to be scaled down. Is that too small now? Maybe. Who knows? It's not going to be in the play area anyway. Let's put it in the... Put it over here. It's quite cool, isn't it? Just move it slightly further out. Static meshes. Foliage isn't. Well, it is. Foliage is kind of a static mesh that's been applied to something else. But this is a static mesh, yeah. Mesh just meaning a net, and static just means it doesn't move, so it's not like a creature or anything. That doesn't look good. Maybe I can alter the tiles a bit to... That looks alright, I think. It's alright that it's in the play space as well, because creatures won't go there because the nature of this map. Will be a visual in the future for I answered that one, okay. In free play, can you see other nests? In free play you can see other nests. They just look like normal ground, but with holes, extensions. Yeah. Okay, let's press play and see how that looks. I think I need to put a few things around it. I should probably put a spotlight on the queen. But anyway, I need to decorate it a bit. We need some leaves and some other stuff. So okay, we'll get that. Okay, so these are foliage. So if I grab these are just various Ecuador debris. So where's the foliage stuff? Okay. It's not. Maybe there it is. So if I... Huh. Place foliage on foliage. Wait 1 sec. Okay, so it's not letting me place the foliage on the skirt of the map. My guess is because collision's turned off on it. Okay, I think that was quite... Yeah, that's way too much foliage. Let's undo that. Okay, let's take a look at this. Went way too far then. Okay, there is nothing called skirt. So it might not actually be possible for me to currently place foliage on it until Matt makes some changes to it. So I'm the first person to use this system. If I was balancing missions 3-1 and 3-2. There's always going to be balance to do. At the moment, I mean, we'll probably do another balance pass before the next expansion comes out. I'll be collecting feedback on stuff at that point, but at the minute we're very much focused on trying to get the next update created. And Pacdane's got a point there that until all the pieces are in place, balance is just going to need to be constantly to be fair, I think it's always going to need to be constantly rebalanced. I don't think there's what's that? I don't think there's ever a point where you go, no, the game is completely balanced now. Don't know what that is, but I like it. I don't think the lip is the skirt. So this is the skirt. Okay, so Matt reckons at the moment it might be impossible to, until he makes changes, it might be impossible to actually get the foliage in. So we might need to leave that for now. That tree is a fake tree. Anyway, let's see if we can get a few more static mesh edge of map things in place just to look pretty. Hang on, that's foliage, isn't it? I want to stick to the static mesh stuff at the minute. Anything with the lime green is, or the aqua blue is not foliage at the minute, so I can place it. I mean, I can place them anyway. Thing Ecuador tree. Oh, these are these were put in place for shadows. It's not actually. You're not meant to see them. They're meant to be around the edge, and the reason they've been textured is in case of reflections into water. A few tricks that we used. Not sure where the sunlight's shining from, but looks like it's south of us based on where the shadows are. So basically, if I move this fake tree down here, potentially cast a shadow. Though I think, oh yeah, there it is. I don't think I'll be doing that though. Leave a speed tree. That's a badly positioned flower. Which idiot positioned this flower? Turn the grid off or down. pointed at the camera to look pretty. Oh, that's a cool looking log. I think we definitely want the rotten side of it. Matt did some great work on some of these pieces of scenery. Don't really want it in the ground though, so maybe I'll rest it on something. I can't even see it there anyway. Right, I think 15 more minutes and then this stream will be done. Okay, so I'm going to try and stream again tomorrow morning, probably for a shorter one. But then I won't be streaming next week, but the week after that I should be back properly. So I'm gonna try and do a stream tomorrow morning, probably starting around 10:30, finishing around midday. Then there won't be one next week, but the week after that we should be back to normal. Barring summer holidays and things like that, depending on how the lockdown goes. Though it's easing quite a lot in the UK at the minute. Though there's already a localised lockdown being put in place for Leicester. So we'll have to see how it goes. Do with like a big rock or something for that to sit on. Do we have a rock? We don't have a rock. I don't like it floating. I think in the level it actually sits in the wall, which is why it looks alright. I think maybe it'll look okay doing this because of because I don't know. I don't like the fact the fungus are on this side. Ah, pretty flower. Yeah. Maybe I can use it like I really don't know. Shift this out of the way. Use that somewhere else. That can be used anywhere. To be fair, there you can't even see what's below it. Oh, that's collidable. Here is a log. Ah! Maybe I should shrink it. low poly mushrooms. Just shrink them so you can't see the low poly count. Oh, zoom into the low poly mushrooms. Give the game a negative review. Mushroom poly count too low. I don't think you were ever meant to be able to get that close to the mushrooms. I think they're quite a background thing when they're used in the levels. That'll probably tell me off for all sorts of things I've done here. Is that going to annoy people? That might annoy people. Shrink it then. Is there any rotation where its tendrils aren't all over the playfield? It's only a little plant. It takes me blooming ages to decorate anything. This is why I don't. This is why it's not me who decorates the levels. I spend ages doing it, and then it still doesn't look as good as if Matt had spent 10 minutes doing it. I think that log needs shrinking again. I think we need to shrink it until you can't see the low polys. Now it's flying as well. We've got a flying low poly mushroom here, mushroom log here. What is going on? 0 out of 10, refunded. Damn you, low poly mushrooms. I'm gonna spend the last 10 minutes of the stream screaming at mushrooms for being low poly. Seems like a good use of my time. Oh, I need to fill this area with something. In fact, I think a lot of the work on this needs to be done after Matt's got the foliage stuff working with the skirt. Quick, build some ants. Oh no! They're coming to destroy me. You got this. You got this. I don't even know what I built there. I wasn't really paying attention. What did I build? Oh man. Medea, worst unit to pick. Spam army ant Medea. Yeah. We can turn this around. You can't hear the game, can you? See if I can get my desktop audio working. Damn it. How are we doing? Come on, we turn this around. Yeah. When's my income? No cost found for this tile, see Liam. Wonder what tile it's on about. Oh no, wood ants. We're doomed. Come on, where's my income? Oh, there it is. Just started, spent it immediately. Yeah. And there, I'm sending another assault. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed the I've noticed that. Just needs someone to look at it. I've got cash I need to spend. I'm fairly sure I've lost this one. I didn't exactly have the greatest start. I think I missed the first spawn. Oh, some of them got through. There's also an issue here with them waiting underground, which they really shouldn't do. I don't know whether that's a bug or whether it's just. I intended to fix that. It's one of the things I need to do is have a thing on this level which bypasses the gateway system, so they always go out. Still a few things that need to happen with this level. So there's that marker needs to be hidden because there's no point displaying that on the minimap. It's pointless. Yeah, there's still a few things that need to happen with this level. Anyway, both colonies in it. Right, I think that's going to be the stream for today. We've passed the 2-hour mark just about. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be streaming tomorrow again, about 10:30 UK time. I'll probably try and address a couple of the problems with this level then. So we'll see what we can do. But then that'll be me. Then I won't be streaming next week, but the week after that we should be back to normal. At this level you don't actually know who's winning because it'll push one side then back to the other then back to the other side. I actually think the level works fairly well. Anyway, yeah, see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Yeah, we'll see you next time. Thanks, everyone. These levels will be hard to balance. Yeah, probably. See you later.